So Joe Biden is preparing to institute the largest tax hike in American history, laid out in his $5.8 trillion budget blueprint for the 2023 fiscal year. Of course, he blames these tax hikes on, well, President Trump, of course.
The previous administration, as you all know, ran up record budget deficits. In fact, the deficit went up every year under my predecessor. My administration is turning that around.
This guy's unbelievable, man. I'll tell you what. He forgets to mention that the federal deficit was lower during each of President Trump's first 3 years in office than during the first 4 years of the Obama-Biden administration. This proposal includes a so-called billionaire tax, which would set a minimum 20% tax rate on income and unrealized gains on households worth more than, you ready for this, $100 million. Yet they still call it a billionaire tax, even though it's $100 million. Calling it a billionaire tax is a lie. Democrats would love to push this unrealized gains tax on everyone. You know what it means? It means you would get taxed on profits before you take them. The price of your house goes up, you get taxed that year. Doesn't matter if it goes back down the next. You already paid the tax. Stock goes up, same thing. You don't sell it, you'll get taxed, even if you lose money the next year. All right? It's wrong. You'd pay tax on all this stuff. It's insane. Biden's plan also would raise the corporate tax rate from 21 to 28%. So he hits the job creators hard. Just look at his first year. Wages decreased under Joe Biden in 9 out of his first 12 months in office. So his budget also includes $3.3 billion for subsidies for clean energy products and $11 billion for international climate aid. Just what I really want to be sending my hard-earned money to. It does nothing for domestic energy production, leaving us all still reliant on foreign oil. This plan, of course, is another radical wish list to be negotiated with Congress for months to come. It is another spending plan that would be detrimental if passed, okay? Republican Congressman from Florida joins me now. Brian Mast is his name. Congressman, welcome to the program.
Good to see you always.
Congressman, good to see you, sir. So what do you make of this budget blueprint? There's a lot of liberal, we call them Christmas tree ornaments, because anything you want, they hang on the Christmas tree.
Yeah, I think it falls right into everything that they've been doing for the last year. They've learned nothing out of Ukraine, nothing about energy policy, nothing about prioritizing comparative American advantages in how you run this country. We could talk about a host of different things. Look at the energy proposals in there. They're looking for more wokeness in the military, more greenness in the military, not more defense in the military. Every place they look, they're trying to meet their specific climate initiatives, not do what's best for national security policy.
All right, so Congressman, we've got real threats around the world. You and I know that. Most conservatives do. The Democrats seem to ignore it. Republicans have asked for a 5% increase in the defense budget. In my opinion, that might even be too low. But the Biden administration comes back and they claim they're increasing at $773 billion. You can't be fooled by this, though, because they don't take into account inflation. They don't really take into account the $14 billion Congress already added to this, which brings the amount really down to about 1.5%, a far cry from the 5% y'all are asking for.
Well, let's push back even on that. Just because some Republicans push for more spending in defense doesn't mean that it should be done without asking this very specific question in defense. What's the gap that you need to fill or you're trying to fill? Why do you have to spend more money? Are we short on jets compared to China or Russia or Iran or North Korea? Is our nuclear posture lacking somewhere? Our Navy? Do we need more cyber capabilities? Can we not knock their satellites out of the sky? What is the gap that we're trying to fill? And unfortunately, any amount of spending, increased defense spending under this administration does not fill the most important gap that we're seeing right now. And that is a leadership gap. That is the gap that we saw in Afghanistan, the gap we see with Ukraine. That is not being filled. So they're throwing money at the wrong problem. They're not fixing their policies, number one. Again, with wokeness in the military, greenness in the military, and the way that they're leading the military. They can't pay for that.
Congressman, if you look at the cost of inflation right now, this doesn't nearly cover the cost of inflation, when you look at the threats around the globe, including the nuclear programs of not just Russia, but North Korea now saying it's going to detonate a nuclear bomb for the first time in 4 years. Joe Biden is trying to cancel a nuclear program put in place by President Trump that would modernize our nuclear systems to face these threats. I personally don't think 1.5% is enough.
No, they won't prioritize the right things. So they don't make hypersonics a priority. They don't see the threat that they pose from China or Russia or anywhere else. So unwilling to modernize our programs to deliver nuclear payloads or any other kind of payload to have that capability. Unwilling to put the dollars there to modernize. You talked about the budget for the pay of those in the military. That gap isn't being fixed. So if they're raising it 2.2%, but there's 8% inflation on every military member that has to drive into base or go to the PX to get groceries or go somewhere else, they're still at a 5 to 6% reduction in pay because of what is going on under the Biden administration and their inflationary policies, which they will continue with their energy policies. That, again, they haven't learned their lessons on this.
Congressman, maybe the most important question I can ask you. I don't know if you can answer it in 20 seconds, but I'll ask you to try. What can Republicans do to push back on this and make sure this doesn't go through? Some form that we can get behind does.
Shirts and skins. Make it a shirts and skins game to say, listen, just because you put something in there that somebody might like, in the end, it's not the bill that needs to go forward to meet the national security objectives of the United States of America. So it's not going to go forward at all. Come back to the table and let's hash this out again.
All right. Congressman Brian Mast, I appreciate you coming on the program. As always, good to see you. Thanks.
Take care.
All right. You got it, my man.